Hey guys, welcome to another weekly focus. I hope you had a great week, and we're just going to go ahead and do a quick trade recap. I will show you guys the positions I had, the trade management, and the positions I'm looking out for coming into next week. So let's do a quick trade recap. Alright guys, so we're still looking at these two gold positions. So I had the initial entry on, let's say, July 9th. I spoke about this already, so you can go back and watch the previous market focus and you see this position. So I had two positions. So the first one was right here, if I'm not mistaken. So that was the first one right there. And then we had a second one. So the first one was right here, had another entry right here. So two positions was running as we came into this week. So if you look at this right now, I've closed both positions. So the initial one was right here, and again the target was an area like this, but price didn't really get to that area, and I'll show you guys why I had to close these positions. The second attempt was right here, and I closed both positions at an area like this, and you can see once we close these positions, price just started tanking to the downside, and there's a reason for this. So I'll show you guys when we do the trade breakdown or the market forecasting properly. But two positions I had, and I closed both positions, and I think that's a lot. I'll look at the risk to reward on this trade. I didn't really put it, but those are the trades I had coming into this week, and I closed both trades already. And after closing the buy positions, I went in on the sell. So currently we're looking at this position right here. So I have a sell right here, so I have my entries right here and a stop right here, and my target with this sales is to see prices coming back to an area like this. Now you might argue that price is playing off of an area like this, or price might do something like this: impulse, correction, impulse, and then a correction, and for prices to move again to the upside. And this is where the context really matters, because depending on where price is at and depending on the context of what you're looking at, there might be certain areas where you might have a channel thing and price really pulls back to an area like this, and you're not looking for the buys and you're instead looking for the sells. So you need to understand the context, because context matters as well. All right guys, so that's it for me. Two buy positions closed already, and I'm currently in on this sales on gold. So we'll just go ahead and I'll do the market focus properly, and once we get to those lower time frames, I'll show you guys why I had to close my positions and the reasons why I got in with the sell positions. All right guys, let's look at the other pairs. So starting with the DXY, let's start from the monthly time frame. And the reason I'm bringing the monthly time frame again, so if you've noticed, every now and then I'll, let's say, go to higher time frames like the monthly or the weekly and see what price is doing actually on those time frames, and then I'll circle back to lower time frames and then keep on with my analysis. So bigger picture thing again on the DXY, we've been moving to the upside correction, but the reason I'm bringing the monthly time frame to your attention is because of what price is doing currently. So if you're looking at psychological levels, first of all, we still sat below 100, so price is still trading below 100. Now looking at it, like going off of the principle of psychological levels, there's a high possibility, just based on the principle of psychological levels, once price breaks out of a psychological level, there's a high tendency for price to come back, giving you a test of this level. And if you get a rejection, then you see prices moving to the downside, or if you get an impulsive break of that area, you see price moving to the upside, then coming back down, so you can take prices to the upside. So just looking at it from the monthly time frame, there's this fight happening currently. So if you look at it right here, look at this space right here, look at this area. So currently you have your trend line. So we have a trend line, and this trend line is currently sat at a pivot point right here. So we're expecting buyers to kick in from an area like this. At the same time, you have this piece right here, you have this other piece right here. So if you're looking at this as an impulse and a correction, there's lots of reason why you should be looking for buying opportunities off of that area. Now looking at it again from, I think, the previous weeks, we was already breaking out of this trend line, so there was also a huge possibility prices could break out of this area and you see a further move of the DXY to the downside. And that's why I say it's very important, because if you pay attention to what's happening right here, it tells you a lot concerning the DXY. So first you have buyers coming in, and at the same time we're trading below 100, so there's still a selling pressure coming in as well. So you have buyers trying to take prices to the upside, you have sellers trying to take prices to the downside. So if you're looking at the confluence around this point, you have this trend line right here, and because of this trend line, which comes all the way from the downside, this is on the monthly time frame. It means price is taking lots of time to build this up. So you're looking at buyers trying to come in, and you're still looking at sellers trying to come in as well. So you have buyers trying to come in from these areas. So you have this trend line, you have this confluence from another trend line right here, the counter trend line thing. So you have all reasons for prices to move to the upside, but at the same time you still have sellers coming in. So now the reason I'd say it's very important you look at the DXY like currently and what price is doing at this point is because if you can tell where the DXY is most likely going to head to coming into next week, then it makes things a little bit easier for you. So based on my principles, first, there's a high possibility the DXY might want to test the psychological level of 100. Just based off of the principle of psychological levels, we might be testing the psychological level of 100, and then a decision has to be made. If there's a rejection of this area, we'll see prices coming to the downside. If there's an inability for the sellers to reject at this point, you see buyers taking prices to the upside. That gives you a clear indication buyers are in control, and we should see prices again moving to the upside. So it's very difficult for you to say the DXY is just tanking right now or the DXY is dropping right now. When we step down to lower time frames, I'll show you why this piece of price action right here makes a lot of sense. So you might see the difficulties from the sellers, and you can start putting these things together, knowing from higher time frames you currently sat at this pivot point right here. Same thing, you had a pivot point at this area and you saw prices taking off to the upside. So if you're expecting the same thing, you're expecting a push to the upside and maybe a correction thing, and for you to see prices moving again to the upside. So that's what we're looking on the on the monthly time frame. And if you step down to the weekly time frame, so on the weekly time frame, here's what's very interesting. Now the price action starts making a lot of sense on these lower time frames, because if you look at the impulse correction thing, so as prices moving to the downside, let's zoom out a little bit. So I'll show you guys real quick. So you have an impulse thing, and everything coming to the downside is a correction. But if you zoom in on the correction coming down currently, you look at this impulse right here, there's an impulsive move and there's a correction, very shallow correction, and price just blast to the downside. Then comes a deeper correction and then price. So you compare this correction right here and you're comparing it to this correction right here. So we had a deeper pullback right here. You had a shallow pullback here and price just moved to the downside. Now you had a deeper pullback, better prices, better discount, and it was difficult for prices to take out this low. So when I'm looking at this price action currently, I'm trying to put everything together. I'm looking at the prices, I'm looking at what price is doing. So impulse, minor correction, and then another impulse, a deeper correction, but there's this difficulty for price to take out this area. There's another pullback, this area gets taken out, but there's still this difficulties for prices to take out this area, and you still have a push coming down, just bringing prices back to this area, which is a pivot point on higher time frames like the monthly, the 3-month time frames and stuff like that. So looking at this, based off of what we're looking at currently, we're expecting prices to then move to the upside. So the question is, if this price has to move to the upside, how can you is there anything you can gauge to actually say price is moving to the downside? When we step down to the daily time frame, I'll put a trend line in to see if there's any violation on those time frames and see if we can piece things together. So let's look at the daily real quick, and that's it right there. So if you look at the daily time frame, the same thing. It was an impulse correction, impulse, there's a correction, there's an impulse, there's a deeper correction, and we're looking at how this area has been taken out. So you compare this impulse right here, but for this one you have the push, correction, push, correction. So there's just this difficulties for prices to take out these lows currently. So on the DXY you can tell already there's this difficulties from the sellers taking prices to the downside. So, and you're just comparing it from previous price action right there. So looking at this and putting the trend line right here, the counter trend line thing, you can see price trading outside this trend line already. So it's just indications telling you this could be early signs that the buyers are most likely around the corner, and they probably want to take prices again to the upside. Based on the principle of psychological levels, we should be testing 100 flat, just based off of that principle. So that's what we're looking at on the daily time frame. Counter trend line thing right here, and there's a violation, and there's just a pullback thing on the daily time frame. So we keep zooming in, and then we'll step down to lower time frames on the 8-hour time frame. So on the daily time frame, if you look on the daily time frame, I can spot already that there's a violation of this area on the daily time frame, because you're looking at the pullbacks right here, pullbacks, pullbacks, pullbacks. So everything has been taken out already, and you see price trading outside. So just based off of the principle of trend lines, once you get a violation, you should expect a pullback thing testing these areas, and you see prices moving again to the upside. So if you look at the 8-hour time frame, so now I just want to put a channel just to be sure of what's happening. And when you get a violation of a trend line, sometimes I bring in the channels to actually account for everything, like making sure everything has been taken out properly. So looking at it on, like, from this channel point of view, it's an impulse to the downside and it's a correction. So based off of this, we could expect prices to pull back, giving us a test and another push again to the downside before price takes off again to the upside. So just going off of the principle of like the channels, I'm still expecting this to happen. So this is what we're looking at: impulse, correction, and we're expecting another push to the downside. So looking at this based on the channel thing and looking at the time frame, the 8-hour time frame to the 4-hour time frame, you can say, all right, cool, the DXY still has this possibility to push to the downside. So just doing something like this, there's still this high possibility for the DXY to move to the downside. Now if this movement right here, if we get another push to the downside on the 8-hour time frame, what does this mean on the daily time frame? So that's how I flip through time frames, just trying to see what's happening. So you get a violation of this area, there's a push to the upside. What you're looking for is a correction move like this right here, so you can take prices again to the upside. So if we see prices coming down on the 8-hour time frame, I won't be surprised, because this movement right here could be the final movement on the daily time frame. So you can get this push on the 8-hour time frame, the 4-hour time frame, but on the daily time frame is just a final push for prices to move again to the upside. So that's what I'm looking at the 8-hour time frame. And on the 4-hour time frame, it's just the same thing. And I think the only thing that makes it different, I think, is the hourly time frame right here. So I was watching this piece of price action on the hourly time frame. So we had this initial push to the upside, and then we had a violation, and price was coming to the downside. So just looking at this reaction, reaction, reaction. And if you look at this on the daily time frame, currently price is broken out of this, and we're currently moving to the upside. So if we zoom on this piece of price action, so we're zooming on this piece, I'll take this one out, and let's put this one right here. So let's put a new channel and just see what price is doing right here. Give me a second, check this out, bring this up and make this visible just on the hourly time frame. Yeah, all right, cool. So if you're looking at this on the hourly time frame, so this is what price is doing currently. So we're still moving to the upside, and I'll keep this channel thing on the hourly time frame. So let's draw it properly. So let's put this right here. So I'll put this right here. So that's what I'm looking on the hourly time frame, just the movement to the upside and how price is interacting from this area. So you want to see this movement again to the upside, just continuing its move to the upside. Once we get a violation of this, so if you get a violation, you're waiting for a test and for prices to move to the downside. But if price keeps maintaining or respecting this channel, we should expect prices to move again to the upside. Now the catch on this pair on the DXY is on the daily time frame. So here's where everything really lies for me. So you have this downtrend, there's a violation, you have a break, you're waiting for this push, this, and for prices to move to the upside. So that's what I'm looking at currently on the DXY. So you can scale into lower time frames, because personally I'll move, let's say, to the hourly time frame the 4-hour time frame and then the 8-hour time frame and see what's happening, and just try to piece all these time frames together. So that's my analysis right there on the DXY. So personally, I would say the DXY is most likely geared for the upside, at least to test an area like 100. So we might just see this struggling sales coming in, then later on we could see prices moving again to the upside. So that's just my personal take on the DXY. So I'm still going to watch this. There's still a possibility for sales, but you see, based on what you're looking at currently, that's why I had those selling opportunities on gold, and I'll manage our position accordingly depending on what the DXY does coming into next week. All right guys, so let's look at gold and see how this analysis can help us capitalize on the move on gold. Alright guys, so here's gold on the weekly time frame, and I remember talking like really boldly. I was like, gold is headed to I was calling this out. I was saying gold is headed to like 4,000, but I think we're probably taking a little pause right now. Gold is eventually going to get to 4,000, but we're probably taking a pause right now. So if you look at this on the weekly time frame, it's an impulse, it's a correction, it's an impulse, and you're waiting for the correction to come in. So if you dissect this piece of price action on lower time frames, you understand what's happening within this consolidation thing, and I'll show you guys just a little bit because I can go like really deep on like during the market focus thing. So look at this weekly candle right here. Look at this weekly candle right here. So the movement thing we did during the entire week, taking prices to the upside, and everybody had the illusion thing that we're gonna break out of this area and most likely test this area, and I'll show you guys why we didn't hold those prices longer. So if you look at this weekly candle, it's telling you there's this rejection coming in from an area like this. So let's zoom in. And I'll show you guys. So you have your impulse thing, right? So you have your impulse thing coming from the downside, but this piece right here tells you a lot about price action currently. So you're looking at this piece. So all the buys we did from about 2 weeks ago, because I held those positions for like 14 days. So all the buys we did coming from areas like this all the way to the upside, everything has just disappeared. Like within a second, prices just pulled back to the downside. So this tells you there's going to be some temporal sales before buyers can kick in again, and that's why I just wanted to show you guys a weekly time frame so you can see what's happening. So we're still expecting prices at the least to have a test of this area. So you can see this sales coming in, testing those areas, then you see prices moving again to the upside, because that's how prices engineered to move sometimes. All right, cool. So that's on the weekly time frame. Let's look at the daily, and I'll show you guys what we're looking at the daily time frame. So when you look at this on the daily time frame, now we've had this impulsive move to the upside, and we had a correction thing coming to an area like this, respecting this trend line, and that was a pivot point, but we couldn't take out these highs. So there was an inability of prices to take out those highs, and you could see it from an area like this. Then we had a push to the downside, giving us the same structure thing, an impulse, and then you had a correction, same thing, inability for prices to move to the downside. And we also sat here looking at this saying price has to take out these highs. When you look at it again, same thing, there's been an inability for prices to take out these highs. So you look at it, price is telling you like there's a story building up right here. So first, inability for prices to take out these highs, and coming off of an impulse, you had another impulsive move right here. Still there's an inability for prices to take out those highs. If you look at the same thing, there's another impulsive move right here. So price has to come down, at least testing an area like this. So we need to test these areas, and the reason I'm saying price has to come down to test these areas is because if you look at prices just based off of like the principle of like discounts, you want a better discount. So what this the story this is telling you is the buyers are not happy with these prices, so we need a better price. So let's see if you can give us a better discount coming again to the downside. Now personally, I'm not expecting prices to come back to this weekly trend line just right now. I think this from the monthly time frame even. I'm not expecting prices to come all the way to an area like this. I'm expecting prices to come down just a temporary move. And the reason I'm looking at this is because you have stop losses here. It's going to take out all these areas, and once it does something like this, then you see prices moving again to the upside. So my bias when it comes to gold moving all the way to 3,500, this minor psychological level, it stays the same. But currently there's this temporary pressure coming in from the sellers, and they're just looking for better prices. So we're looking for better prices so we can take the whole thing again to the upside, taking out 3,500. So let's put an imaginary channel thing. So you have this piece right here, and if price can take out this area, this lows right here, we're expecting a movement like this. So let's say something like this, so we can take out this piece right here. So let's clean this right now. So this is the move thing I'm looking at, so I can keep this fixated on the charts like this. So perfect. So we've seen an impulsive move to the upside. There's an inability. So once you see something like this, there's a high possibility price is going to take out this piece right here, take out this lows. And if this happens, then it's an impulse coming back to the downside, giving you a correction to an area like this, and for prices to move again to the upside, now fulfilling this piece of price action right here, taking out this area. So that's my game plan coming into let's say next week and the week after that. I'm just expecting prices to push, come to the downside, take out this lows, giving us this interaction thing around this area, and we can see prices moving to the upside, taking out this highs at 3,500. So that's what I'm looking at on the daily time frame. Let's make sure this is only on the daily time frame. If you step down to the 8-hour time frame, I'll show you the same thing. So on the 8-hour time frame, same thing. You had an impulse right here. There's this consolidation, inability for prices to take out these highs, so you could see prices halting around an area like this. And I mentioned this again, I think a couple of weeks back or a couple of days back. You could look at this using a simple channel thing, and you could see why, or here's a reason why I had to take out my positions right there. So let's keep this, and you're looking at it. So that was a beautiful touch around this area. So that inability right there, that was a reason why I had to close my positions, because you're looking at this as a channel thing. It's an impulse, it's a correction, impulse, correction, and an impulse back to this area. If you step down to lower time frames, you'll see the reversal pattern that I was looking at right here. That made me close my positions on gold. So that's the reason right there. You're looking at it from the 8-hour time frame. So based off of this again, there's no reason for you looking for buying opportunities off of this area. So I had this communication, I had this discussion with one of my friends in the community, and he was looking at this and anticipating buys off of this area. So here's my take. If you understand, because if you're just going off of the channel thing, this looks like a perfect area for you to buy, to take out these highs, and even taking out these highs. But if you understand the bigger picture thing, like what we're playing with, where is price coming from, what is price telling you, what are the difficulties this is telling you. You've seen this impulsive move, there's an inability. You've seen another impulsive move, there's been an inability right here. And you've still seen this movement thing to the upside, and there's an inability right here. So it's telling you it's an impulse, it's a correction, impulse, inability. We're waiting for lower prices so we can then get something like this to the upside. So it's just a deeper push to the downside so you can move again to the upside. So that's what I'm looking at on the 8-hour time frame, and that's the reason why I closed my positions on this pair. And I took sales off of this area, like right here, very close to this area where most people probably want to buy from. And I have my stops moved to break even. Why? Because there's a high possibility you might see the rejection at this area. We get a temporary push to the upside, even taking out my sell positions right there, but you're still waiting for prices to come down, taking out this piece right here so we can move again to the upside. So let's look at this on the 4-hour time frame, and I'll see what we're looking at. So as you look at the channel thing on lower time frames, if you zoom in on this piece of price action, you can see this area taken out already. So normally if you're going off of the principle of like the channels, once price gets to this area, you need to see that hesitation and then followed by the impulsive move. Price got to this area, there was a hesitation, impulsive move. So same thing, price got to this area, no hesitation, complete break of that area. So even if you're having buys coming in, or even if you have buys coming in, it's not, how can I put it, it's not convincing. Like this buys will not probably take out this highs. No, I don't think it's going to take out this highs because it needs a better price, so we could see price and moving to the downside. And if we need a better price, here's the best spot. Why? Because this area engineered this entire move to the upside, so we could see prices coming back, taking out this area, and you see prices then moving again to the upside, gradually moving to the upside. So that's my take right there on gold, and that's on the 4-hour time frame. So let's see, let's look at, let's say the 3 hours. All right, cool. So these were the buyer positions I had from last week, so that's fine. Let's look at a 2-hour time frame, and that's it right there. So you can look at my position currently on gold. So this is on the 2-hour time frame. So normally I'll have this on the hourly time frame, but I have lots of markings on the hourly time frame, and I didn't want to clean that just because of this focus thing. So let's stay on the 2-hour time frame. So you look at this, it's a push, it's a correction, it's a push, it's a correction. Then I had my sales off of this area, and I was really late with these sales because I had to take the sales from an area like this, and for some reason I missed the initial entry. So I'm just trying to catch up on this move right now. So I'm currently sat in on these sales, and my anticipation is for prices to take out these lows, and I've explained this already. Once we take out these lows, then I'm expecting prices again to move to the upside. So the target for me coming into next week, we have, let's say, 5 days. Cool. Let's see how price is going to interact around an area like this. If we get another push to the downside, then I'm expecting maybe a deeper pullback, and for prices to then move to the downside. So that right there is my game plan. Now this is going to throw lots of people off, because if you look at this piece, so let's say if you look at this piece right here, it's price coming to the downside. So you're looking at this impulse, correction, and then another impulse and a correction. Once you see price breaking out of this area, it's going to throw people off, because you have this counter trend line thing, and everybody might think we're now headed to the upside, but we still have to take out this area. So once we get a break of this counter trend line and price starts moving to the upside, I'm not like, it's not convincing, because personally I have my buyers on this pair, and I'm going to stick with my buyers. I might be wrong, so that's fine, but personally I'll wait for this to even happen. And once you see everybody, like, let's say this now looks like we're buying to the upside, I'm just going to wait for the reaction thing, inability for prices to move to the upside, then I'll take sales again to the downside. So prices might pull back to an area like this, stops me out of break even, and you see a push again to the downside. But this is my target point on gold currently. Once we take out this area, then I'll start looking for buying opportunities again to the upside. All right guys, so that's my analysis right there for this week, and I hope this made lots of sense to you. And again, be patient, stay consistent, and above all, make sure you're praying, just so you can see things differently, and the Lord can give you this ability to look at prices, like the difficult areas, and start showing you solutions and showing you how to navigate around these difficult areas. All right guys, I'll see you during the next one. Bye for now.